We were doing really well, Jeremy. We were once a week, and now we're not. Granted, you've been busy, very busy.
Yeah, it's my turn.
It's your turn, but we can get into that later or not.
I think we might tonight a little bit.
The biggest thing right now is all of Houston is thinking playoffs. All of Houston is thinking playoff rotation. All of Houston is thinking, is Justin Verlander going to be in that playoff rotation? And right now, it has been a rough stretch of games since he came off the IL. And I know you haven't watched every single start. Jeremy, if you are Joe Espada, what are you doing with Justin Verlander with only days remaining in this season?
If I'm Joe Espada or Bregman or, even Verlander himself or really anybody over there, especially with the way things have been going, you know what I'm thinking about the most? And it's just, I've been watching the flow, the Mariners I'm thinking about the shape of the grass before the playoffs start. I want to make sure that's in condition.
I know that's not right, Jeremy.
That's 100% right, because to me,
Jeremy,
that's what decides.
We are just days away now from the postseason. So if you're Joe Espada, what are you taking into account when it comes to whether Justin Verlander starts a playoff game?
Taking into account innings limit as far as what I can get into as far as production. I'm taking into account
innings limit. What does that mean? What does that mean?
And do the starts. So like if I'm Justin Verlander, how far can I go? Traditionally Justin Verlander has not done well early in the game, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so do we have that time to let him get settled? Are we still working through rhythm? He's not going to come out of the bullpen, right? And so he's either on the roster or he's not as a starter. And if he's not in the rotation, I don't know if that's a bad thing right now. I just don't. And that's hard to say for a guy that's been that good, who is probably one of the few potential Hall of Famers we've got as starting pitchers now. At this point in the way starting pitching is used, but again, traditionally a slow starter early in the game finds from about the third inning gets better. Even as he's gotten older, that's the way he's done. The first inning is not typically his best inning. You have that time in the postseason. You have the time to come back around. And so when I say innings limit, how much can I throw him with his, injury history is coming off, and what's that look like? And what's my windows like to get him in the game and have him be productive? And I don't know that there's a clear-cut answer. If that's the case with Hunter Brown and Valdez and, even the Blanco and certainly the first round of playoffs, right? He's probably not on the roster.
Not on the roster.
For the first round, at least.
He is 0-4, 9.68 ERA. He's allowed 27 hits in 17, almost 18 innings, 12 strikeouts, 7 walks. Strikeouts per 9, 6.1. He always talks about mechanics and he always talks about working through things. Do you think it's something where it's someone whose body, listen, you aged once as a baseball player. Could that be part of it? That his body is just different than it was when he was in his prime and mid to early 30s?
Literally, I aged this year at Fenway Park. That was fun too. But go move seriously. I'm in a good mood tonight. Sorry, I just down. But when it comes to the Justin Verlander question, if you're really going to approach your craft the way these guys have to do, especially a guy like Justin who's very process oriented, always has been. Yeah, the feel is important, right? The execution, the rhythm, the timing. Is your arm coming through? Is your lower half engaged? Whatever he's looking for is part of what he's going to do to be effective. The thing about being that analytical mentally, and I'm not talking about spin rate, just mentally as far as analyzing yourself, is that you can paralyze yourself too. And so if the reaction goes away and it just becomes over analysis, and it's called paralysis by analysis. I heard this at 18 years old. I was way too into my swing mechanics, and my coach said, "Hey man, you ever heard of paralysis by analysis?" I was like, "No, what's that?" He goes, "You're locking yourself up thinking too much. Stop it." Now, Justin Verlander is a consummate professional when he goes about what he does, and he's earned the right to have his process. That said, the Astros have, today is the 11th. Is that correct? 10th, 17 days, 17 games left. I think it's about right, ish. So 17 games left, 4.5 up. This is just memory. I didn't look today. 4.5 up. So there's a window to still go either way here. you know, and whether they do or not, it's probably unlikely. They probably keep their lead and they go ahead. That's looks like the probability of it. But I don't know that the process right now has the time to catch up with the games in the season. This is July. That's different. It's not. It's September 10th. And the first round is you're now in a position you really haven't been in before where you're playing 3 games at home, first round, to get beyond it. He doesn't get the ball in those first in one of those 3 starts. It's not so much the 0-4. That doesn't bother me. Wins and losses today, many times are decided by the bullpen, right? It's the ERA bothers me, the hits bother me, and the walks bother me. That all bothers me. That tells me somebody who's out of sync, who needs longer at 41. Is that correct? 41? 40 at least. 41, I want to say is what he is. Needs longer at 41 years old to prepare and to recover. And it's just it's going to take his body longer to get back into shape. That's just what it is.
It's interesting. We talk about how early on in games is we've seen him as an Astro. Sometimes he doesn't have it right away and then figures it out. Actually, this season, and granted, I'm looking at the season as a whole, he's been really good in the first inning. It's the third inning that's given him the problems. The third inning, opposing batting average of 385 and an OPS of 990. And then in the fifth inning, also another inning that's killed him. 347 batting average and a 1200 OPS.
So that's indicative of something else. And the Verlander that we saw for the majority of the time is the one we described. But hearing those numbers is indicative of something else, just from a scouting standpoint. It means that he's giving it everything he's got early because that's all he's got. And so if it's 1 and 2 innings, he's getting through those. And the second time somebody sees him, there's a problem. He probably regroups and adjusts. And the second time, the last part of the lineup sees him, there's a problem. So if that happens, it means you're made for the bullpen at this point in time. It doesn't mean permanently. It doesn't mean that. It just means right now your stuff is working in 2-inning blasts. That's what it means. And if it's 2-inning blasts, you're in the bullpen. I don't see Justin Verlander pulling a John Smoltz. I'm not saying he wouldn't, but for those of you who don't remember, John Smoltz was a starter, Hall of Famer, obviously a starter, and then got hurt and came back as he broke down as a reliever. Right? I think he finished up as a closer, didn't he? Cardinals, sound right? So, I don't see Verlander could. I just don't see him doing it. The process is too ingrained. You don't have the time as a reliever to come out and see how you feel. You have to come out blowing, basically throwing as hard as you can and moving the ball and trying to get guys out on 1 or 2 pitches, and it's a swing and miss, but part of the game. So I don't see Verlander being that guy. It's certainly not now. That's an off-season conversion that gets you into it. So, the numbers that you're telling me don't indicate what we're seeing with our eyes. They match. They don't indicate starting.
And more proof that kind of backs up what you're going by or what you're saying. Pitch 1 through 25, opposing batting average of 257 and an 801 OPS, which isn't great, but pitches 26 through 50, a 260 batting average, 583 OPS. But then when he gets pitches 51 through 75, that's where it goes haywire.
Right.
338 opposing batting average and an OPS over 1,000.
Yeah, so that just means the second time they see you, they're wearing you out. So,
batting average on balls in play in that pitch 51 through 75, 346.
You can't be a starter if you can only get through them one time. You just can't do it. So, 45 pitches ish, 50 pitches. It's 3 innings. It depends how the first 2 innings go, whether they're leveraged or not, or rather high intensity. But it's indicative that it's over for him now at this point in the season to be a starter on the postseason roster. There's just not enough time to work it through.
I'd say I disagree.
Okay.
I think, and I know the Astros are going to give him every single opportunity to turn this around in the time he has left. And if he goes out and pitches well in, say, how many more starts? 3?
3.
If he pitches well in 2 of those 3, my guess, because he's Justin Verlander, he will start a playoff game.
When did he pitch last?
When did he pitch last?
Yeah, 2 days ago. Sound right?
I think so.
Yeah. So 3 starts left. I don't look at this anymore as, and you know what did it for me? We're going to talk about this later. What did it for me was the experimentation with Yordan Alvarez here. That's what did it. Okay. Because for me, I don't it's about rings. It's about World Series, it's about wins, it's about rings, and it should be that way for everybody. And I promise you the players want a World Series ring. If Verlander isn't the usual Verlander that he's used to being, he's going to be upset, not going to be happy with himself, but you know what? He's going to get a ring potentially. And I think he's going to be fine with the ring. Now, I don't believe in giving guys opportunities when you know they can't live into them, regardless of their track record. And I'm not talking about just playing. I'm talking about just in general. Like in this game, baseball is so fickle, and it's so hard to do that. If your performance at that point in time isn't indicative of what you can do, it just means it's time for you to take a step back for the moment. If the Astros run him out there, he needs to have deserved to be out there from the standpoint of being the best chance to win in the postseason. You don't have another month in the postseason, something the Astros know, having been to what, 9 in a row now? 8 in a row?
7 ALCSs in a row, right?
How many postseasons in a row? Was it 8
of the last 9? It would be 8 of the last 9.
They know what October's like. This organization knows what October's like now. So I'm not telling them anything they don't know. Okay. And so for me, yeah, you give them the ball the next, 3 weeks. This is your time, or 2 weeks. This is your time to do it. Give them the ball, because you need to figure out what your rotation is like in the postseason. But if he starts getting whacked around again the next time, and the next time after that, you might skip him the last time, because you got to line your stuff up for the postseason.
It was good to see on X some people wondering where you were.
Yeah, that was fun.
Jeremy, are you still doing Astros content? Been looking, but haven't been able to find anything recently.
Yeah.
And then another person, great to hear you're back in the studio. Looking forward to seeing more coverage.
It's been an interesting month. I mean,
it has been an interesting
I don't know quite where to begin with that. I was just asked that question earlier today about something else. Those of you that are out there, I love being me. I like my life. I do. I wake up every day positive, and I try to go kill it. And being able to do this with Jason and the people that have been here before and the people that are here now is a blessing and a gift, and I'm very happy about it. But I can tell you that, sometimes you got stuff you got to handle. It's just the way it is. And Future Star Series is going well. It is. I'll say it. It's a key player in the system now as far as amateur baseball prediction. It is a living, breathing organism. It has gotten, and I do mean this, and I'll say this into the camera because I don't, I used to just kind of put my head down and just go with it, but I'm gonna say it now. It has been intentionally messed with more times than I can count at this point in time over the last 7-8 years. And all that tells me is that we're doing the right thing. That's all it tells me. Because if no one was messing with it or trying to get in the way of it, then we must be doing something wrong. It's not a threat. When you're a threat, man, they come for you. And the difference with me is I come right back. I'll come for you even harder. And it's one of those things where I kind of like my job when it comes to the protection. When I was a football player, I was a tight end, and we ran the option offense, and I used to have to whack, linebackers to open up the holes. You didn't know that?
I did not. Yeah. I did not know that.
And on the other side,
I mean, I'm not surprised by that, given you're a relatively small human being.
Yeah, I'm a little guy. And the other side, I was a defensive end, and when in baseball, it was a catcher and a first baseman, and played third base one time. I had no idea how to play third base, and the short story of that was like, "What are you doing with third base? What am I doing over here at third base?" And somebody said, "If Bobby Bonilla can play third, you can play third."
Yeah,
at the time, right? So
thing was though, Bobby Bonilla couldn't play third, but anyways, came up as a third baseman.
That's right,
but couldn't play third.
That's right,
because he eventually got moved to the outfield.
That's right. So the bottom line is it's been busy. We've been Fenway Park. Thank you to MLB who was there, operating Hawkeye for us, and or I guess for the clubs. So the clubs got all that information. Saw some pretty good performances, one of which by a player that lives in Rocheron area, Landon Brown. Pretty good pitcher. Good hitter as well. It's both ways, but
and he will be
at
the main event at Globe Life.
Which is now at Globe Life, correct.
Yes.
And so what we are doing right now is we are getting through the Fresh 50 in a good way. Fresh 50, the underclass or the underclass premiere, which is at Duncan Park, home in the Colorado Rockies this weekend. And then we have 2 weeks off, and then we off, so to speak, and we got Globe Life. We also have at the same weekend 2 junior college regional tournaments. and they're scrimmages. They're not really tournaments. There's no really no other name for them. There's 4 teams in each. It is going to be a lot of fun just to watch those guys get out there.
We announced which teams will be in it.
The one in Texas is at Round Rock. It's also ironically AAA home of the Texas Rangers.
No, I mean, have we announced which teams are participating?
Yes, that one has Wharton.
Mm-hmm.
That one has Odessa.
Mm-hmm.
That one has Cisco
Mm-hmm.
and Ranger.
Okay.
And those 4 are in that one. The one in South Alabama, which is in the week after, has Pearl River, Mississippi Gulf Coast, Wallace, Dothan, and there's a 4th one. I forget who the 4th one is. We might even maybe South Al might jump in that one as well. But we have there's 4 there. And the one in New Hampshire has a couple out of New York and a couple out of Massachusetts. So there's 3 there, and there's one in Florida later on in the spring or later on in the fall. So we're getting into that. And we have our Instructs program in December. What we're trying to do right now is figure out how we're going to make the adjustment to Global Life. Everybody's ready to go. The Rangers have been great. MLB's been great. We got their information today yesterday about as far as who's coming in where, but it's a hefty lift after all this. You know what I mean? To be honest with you, Jason, it's taken a lot of my time.
And thus, we haven't had time.
Yeah, no, it's extensive. I'm looking forward to see how this resolves, basically, because we have a commitment to uphold. I was just in New Balance headquarters. It was great to see him, up there, but bro, that's a lot. And I'll stop there because it's just just a lot. So dealing with all of that and figuring out how you're going to make A to B and get that stuff done. I'll say this. If I ever thought for a second, was ever relayed to me for a second, and I'm comfortable saying other people who are involved in this too, okay, ever related to a second that we'd have to move out of Minute Maid Park, there's no chance on this green earth, on God's green earth, on your green earth, on my green earth, in this studio, in any planet in this solar system that I would have taken that event out of Boston. Nobody would ask for this. Nobody. And I mean, even to the point of some of the businesses in the Houston area, I feel bad. I'm getting emails and invoices, and it's like, what do you want me to do with this? But that's some groups are going to do what they do. That's their character, and that's how they roll about it. So we move on. That's it.
It
Shocking.
But it was also well within their rights.
There's no doubt that the deal that the Astros had with the sports authority, that was within their rights to do. The timing was not good. And the fallout is not theirs, I guess, to deal with, at least not with me.
Sure.
The fallout is
potentially, if there is any.
Well, if there's fallout, because it's got some zeros attached to it, a lot of them, and that I have to deal with. And again, it was never said under any circumstances that would happen. And I don't think the sports authority, I know for a fact the sports authority didn't believe that was a possibility, right? Or we're just not doing this. So we are.
Yep.
I'm excited to get to Global Life, but that's been taking my time.
Mm-hmm.
So, I apologize for those of you that missed me. Thank you for missing me. It makes me feel good that you wanted to see me.
In what world are people missing Jeremy Booth for Astros content?
I think
actually, you know what? I take that back. Come playoffs, people love hearing from you.
Yeah, come playoffs, Jason.
It's the build up and the lead up that sometimes people have a problem with.
Well, because they want to argue about how to get there.
Well, yeah, and they have this view that everything is perfect, but again, all the warts that this team has, and the past and last year's team as well. I mean, it's hard to ignore. So, and let's get to the lineup, because now they started out with Yordan Alvarez batting second. They go on a heater with Alex Bregman batting second. And now they have, with Bregman, Tucker, and Yordan back, they've moved Yordan back into the 2-hole.
I'm taking the hat off for this.
And I guess maybe you could argue that Yordan is now on such a hot streak that you want to get him those plate appearances, whereas earlier in the season, it was early in the season and things compounded and it just wasn't going well. I mean, Yordan's going to hit wherever.
Listen, the fact that you have to make an argument about it means you're doing it wrong. If he's
and that's my argument. I don't know what the Astros. I have not had a chance to ask Joe Espada, and one of these days, whether it's Or the Astros. One of these days I will.
How do I say this? You know how I say it? Directly. When you have the right to make a decision, you make the decision. And Joe Espada and Dana Brown and whoever else is involved in that lineup construction have the right to make that decision. So guess what? It's their decision. But you know what our right is? Our right is to break it down and criticize it or pat it on the back, whichever we think is appropriate. In this particular situation, if somebody's tearing the cover off the ball, not one, but two guys, and Alex Bregman, Yordan Alvarez, you don't mess that up. Just leave them where they are. I understand Tucker came back with what appeared to be, and this isn't the first time this organization's been less than transparent on health, what appeared to be some kind of a fracture. Okay. I understand he's back. I understand he's back at the right time, man. The club needs him going to the postseason. That's good. You don't mess with the other two guys for him. If anything, put him in the 2 spot if you're going to do it, and let the other guys protect him while he gets his rhythm back. Why not do? I never understand why people think that somebody's comfort and preparation doesn't matter. You get somebody tearing the cover off the ball in the 5 spot, leave them there. Get somebody tearing the cover off the ball in the 3 spot, leave them there, unless there's such a hole ahead of that person that you move them up and down. That's not happening here. They were swinging the bat well, they were winning games, and they mess with it. No matter what they're doing now, they were swinging the bat before, and they were winning games, and they mess with it.
Without Kyle Tucker, they were winning games.
Baffling to me why they would make that decision. So for my knowledge, I know we talked about them being 4.5 up, and I promise you guys, this is not a setup. I don't have the answer to this. You just heard what I've been doing. How has Yordan been doing in the 2 spot?
Listen, Yordan Alvarez is going to hit no matter where you put him. And actually, when you crunch the numbers here, they're pretty similar to what he's done in the 3 hole. Granted, there's about twice as many at bats batting third. Now, Alex Bregman, that's an entirely different story.
Give it to me.
Alex Bregman batting second in 66 games, 271, 787 OPS with 13 homers, 37 runs driven in, and was the American League Co-Player of the Week 1 week.
Otherwise known as Alex Bregman.
Batting fourth, 199, 563 OPS, 3 homers in 43 games with 14 runs driven in.
Why would you do that? Why would you do that to that guy? He's been so, and I don't want to say maligned because I don't know if that's accurate, but he's been so criticized for how he's gone out there and approached the baseball. He's moved up and down the lineups in the postseason.
This year, you mean?
I'm thinking about back to Atlanta. When he was in Atlanta, he was hitting 8th one day or 6th. Remember we had to move him down?
Oh, that's right. That was a while ago.
Yeah, but it's a pattern. This is a guy who, if you leave him alone, and guys, for those of you that don't know this, I was extremely critical of Alex Bregman years ago as far as how he went about the game. I have been nothing but impressed with Alex since that moment, just because of that moment in time. It's nothing to do with me. It's just how he started approaching the game, and to see somebody with that type of ability who just consistently, you can write in 270 and 25 at third base, and maybe it's first base like we talked about with Garvey later on, but you can write that in on this guy in the 2 spot, and you're moving him for what? You want to sacrifice. Yordan's at bats are the same now, not the start of the year, now as they were early as a 3 hitter, and now we're going to move one guy out. There's no difference there by putting Alvarez in the 2 spot. You just decrease Bregman's productivity. Why would you do that? For me, that is the biggest problem with moving guys around. It's not just about the one guy in the spot. It's about all of the players that go with it, because one guy doesn't hit 9 times. That's it. I don't understand why you'd mess with somebody like Bregman. If I'm Bregman and I just saw, was it Matt Chapman? Matt Chapman just got that. I'm like this. I mean, I hate that, man, because he's so ingrained here in Houston, and he's part of the city. But if I'm Alex Bregman,
grew up here, basically.
If I'm Alex Bregman, I'm looking around going, who needs a third baseman? Do the Mets need a third baseman? Because they'll pay. And Chris Gross is their VP of scouting over there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's no real love lost between he and I. He's still over there, right? When you've got the Yankees, they need a third baseman.
I don't know if the Mets need a third baseman.
These are just questions.
Okay.
Though, right? We know the Angels need a third baseman, but he ain't going there. What do you got?
I don't know.
Well, that's not going to be Oakland. It's not going to be San Diego with Machado. You start bouncing around, the Nationals, they're in a good place where maybe he can help them, right? Tucker's going to be a free agent in a year. You don't know what's going to happen over there. They're loaded at the outfield. They can trade guys for they have pitching prospects. The Nationals are on the come a little bit. And so when you start looking at these places that might need what about Phillies? What about Philadelphia? You never know what can happen in an offseason. You start moving around and you start looking at people that are being competitive and what they want to do.
And have a professional like Alex
That's right.
Bregman,
That's
a
right.
gamer,
That's right.
who's going to make the team better in so many different facets.
That's right. And you're going to go ahead and mess with that. Bye. You know, I'll go take my 25 million, 30 million a year for 6. Anybody here, show of hands out there in podcast viewership land, who wants Matt Chapman? Who wants Alex Bregman? I'll take Bregman. And nothing against Chapman because man, he can do this and I'll take Alex Bregman every day and I'll roll the dice with him. And it's nothing against Matt Chapman when it happens. Everybody's got to make a decision, but I'll take Bregman. Now look, maybe it's because I've seen Bregman here every day for 7-8 years now. Maybe that's the reason, but I'm not going to say if I'm starting a team, he's my guy, but he's probably my second or third pick.
Yeah, I'd take Bregman too. You know, I think sometimes we think, oh, that 2019 year, but a lot of people could do the same thing with Alex because he had early on some really phenomenal seasons, including 2018. Was that the year? I forget. Yeah. But anyways, you know, Chapman's at 251, 23 homers, 71 runs driven in right now.
And where's Bregman?
I don't have it up, but he is at probably about the same. 259, 22 homers.
And one guy basically was absent for 2 months of the year, and that's Bregman. He didn't get it going until he moved wait for it, to the 2 spot in the lineup. Additionally, the guy's battled health every single year. I remember seeing him in Atlanta. Now I'm going to say it. I'm just going to say it. We walked in there. Maybe Correa was speaking or something like that, or Alex went in there and talked for a second, and we walked out ahead of him. Remember that? And he came out.
Yeah.
We were walking by the golf cart, and I just kind of looked at him. I said, "How bad is it?" He goes, "It's not good." And I just kept going. He didn't tell the rest of the media that. He said that to me, and it's not because it's not because just because he knows I was going to keep it to myself. With the scouting background, Jason was right there to see it. We didn't say anything about it because he was battling his tail off. And you're going to sit there and say, I got a guy who is selling out again, this is not a Matt Chapman conversation when it comes to value as far as what Chappie brings to the table. The Giants are non-competitive. The Giants are not good. If Chapman doesn't play tomorrow, you know who cares? Absolutely nobody. Okay? If Bregman doesn't play tomorrow, everybody wants to know why. Everyone wants to know why. And it's just because the Giants aren't in a place to win. It's nothing against Matt Chapman, but these guys are in a place to win. So if I'm looking at my perspective on what I want Alex Bregman every single day, and I don't understand why you'd mess with that guy for something like if Yordan Alvarez goes all of a sudden and he's hitting 430 with 65 home runs in a week, fine. But he's not. He's not. Put the guy back where he's comfortable and let him roll. That's just how I do it.
I hate to do this, but I'm going to do this. It always boggles my mind sometimes when I see things nowadays online about the Astros and baseball. So, Bleacher Report recently regraded the Astros' decision and the trade for Yusei Kikuchi. This was posted 3 days ago-ish.
Okay.
So the grades before the trade: a C for Houston and an A for Toronto.
Okay.
Updated grades.
Go ahead.
Can't, Jeremy.
Why? It's another scoreboard moment. Let me look.
A for Houston.
Oh.
A+ for Toronto.
Are you kidding me? Who did that? Turn in your card. Stop writing right now. What are you doing? You've got to be kidding me.
A+.
Wow.
A+.
Yikes. I don't know what to say there.
I don't even know who this person is. All right. Well,
that's what you call a beneficial trade for both sides, I guess. But I don't get the A+ I don't get it.
From the moment the trade was announced, it felt like Houston gave up way too much for a 2-month rental. At the time, Bloss was the big piece for Toronto. Wagner's become the bigger deal, though. At least Houston got what it paid for. blah, 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 A+.
Listen, Kikuchi is
A+.
gonna.
Here's what an A+ trade is. Here's an A. You want an A+ trade?
I want to hear it.
Jeff Bagwell for Larry Anderson. That's A+.
That's really good.
That's A+.
That's good. Let me ask you this question, Jason. You roll out the starters for the wild card for the first series, right? Because
I'm not ready to do that.
All right. Well, I'll go on record right now,
Okay.
and I'll say, and the guys remain.
I mean, I know who the three are, but I'm not. I know who your three are or should be.
Valdez, Brown, and Kikuchi.
Yep.
That's who I'm going with.
In that order, or it depends on.
Well, where they line up? Probably in that order. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because left, right, left.
Yeah.
You know. Probably.
You're going. Say that again.
Valdez,
Brown, Kikuchi. Yeah.
Probably in that order. See what happens after that.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what to tell you. Everybody else is in the bullpen.
Good thing is we've got a couple of more weeks to talk about it. Will you be around next week?
So not next week. I'm going to Hartford. I got to bounce back to Hartford tomorrow.
Not for insurance.
That's a fact. We do those events up there. I'm in uni for this one. You know, Jim Duquette and Bobby Evans.
You're in uniform?
Yeah, Jimmy and Bobby have been around all the time. It's the front office I've been able to build around me. I'm very thankful for. It's pretty impressive listening to those guys talk, and I think the game's kind of figured out we're kind of a unit at this point. So and there's others with us as well, but Jim, Bobby are unbelievable. They'll be there, but for this one, because it's our freshmen and sophomores, I'm going to be in uniform. We do infield stuff and catching stuff, and as far as the instruction, we're building out for our instructions in December in Corpus Christi, Texas. Our entire organization will come down for instructional week, so it's exciting. It's exciting to see that. But so bounce up there for 2. Gonna get in the car, grab the dogs. We're gonna roll back. That's it. Roll back and we're good.
By the way, in case you did or did not see it, Brice Matthews promoted to AAA.
Saw that. Was curious about that. That's a different conversation at the time, but wasn't this the guy that was getting crushed for being taken in the first round?
Yeah, because he wasn't a first round talent. Now, granted, it was the back of the first round.
A year later,
I mean, it was almost the second round. So,
But a year later, he's in AAA.
Mm-hmm.
How many other guys in that round are not in AAA yet? Where's Drew Gilbert? Well, I love. Is he still in AA?
I think he's in Syracuse. AAA.
Yeah. So I mean, he was 22. Is that right? And he missed some time with injuries. So
yeah, he's had a rough go. This year he's 23 now. He's had a rough time. He is sitting at minorleaguebaseball.com. Come on.
He's in Syracuse though?
Should be. AAA. He is 199, 658 OPS in 43 games in Syracuse.
Yeah, is he hurt?
He's been hurt.
He
only played 43 games.
Yeah.
He played 3 in St. Lucie and 3 in the complex league.
Yeah, he runs in the walls. That's what he does. So Lenny Dykstra.
All righty, everybody. We're kind of all over the place on this one, but certainly the stuff about Justin Verlander and Yordan batting second. Yeah. Once again, leave your comments, questions, and whatever else below in the comments, and we will answer them the next time we do a podcast. I'm not going to say it's next week, but then maybe it could be next week. I mean,
I'm probably back by the end of the week.
Well, we've done the show on the road. You can't do it in a...
Are we taking this show on the road, Jason?
Oh, we will as we're getting ready for October. All right, everybody. For Jeremy, I'm Jason. As always, thanks for listening to Extra Base.
Go Astros grass.